Welcome to Lashback, everyone. I'm Natalyan.
And I'm Phoebe. And today we're talking about annoyances in the workplace. And I suppose that's offices that we're talking about, but not maybe exclusively. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I usually do a bit of Googling. But what I did this time is I did a little bit of research about typical annoyances in the workplace. And I also spoke to people. So I've got like a little bit of a bullet list, but essentially, let's just chat about them and our experiences, and we can ask the listeners as well. But, some of them are funny, some of them may not be as funny. And with the whole push to home working from COVID, there's been changes there. So over to you, Phoebe. Give me your first thoughts.
Well, I used to, for many years, work in the same office, and our desks were right by the kitchen where people would heat up their food, microwave, and that kind of thing. And people shouting at the kettle would really annoy me. And sometimes I'd walk round there and go, I'm working. And if anybody ever if they brought fish in for lunch and they'd heat fish
Oh,
up.
oh,
Facilities
no.
actually put a sign on saying, do not heat up fish
Yeah,
in this
just think
microwave.
about others like going on public transport with
But,
fish.
I'd be like, being a vegan, I'd be like at my desk and you'd hear the ding of the microwave. And I'd go, oh, good, meat smells, thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. You can.
Also, annoyances in the workplace, probably me, because I talk at my screen. So thank God for COVID, because now I get to be myself at my office in at home, and it's only my cats that hear me.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of little ones. So some of the bulleted items, I won't go through them all. We'll work our way, but you know, there's the funnier ones like whistling, for example. I have a story related to that. I used to live with someone in a house share. No names mentioned. If you're listening, you know it's you. Um, Whistled around the house. Like, I mean, non-stop, like professional whistling. At some point, I said, you need to stop doing that, especially at like 6 in the morning, walking past my room. And it's funny because it became our thing that used to be an annoyance between us, but we're still good friends. It was great. But then one day it was validated because he said, "You're not going to believe this, Nat, but I got an email from work saying that can you refrain from whistling at work?" So I was like, "This is brilliant because it's not just me. I'm
Yeah.
not being, irritated easily. Like this has gone into your workplace." Or like tapping on the desk. Anything like that, you've got to be aware. I'm not a fan of tappers. Not.
Tap it. Oh, I'm a pen clicker in meetings. I've been told to
Oh,
stop doing that
oh,
before.
have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there could be more kind of serious ones. Serious being, probably a strong word, but
Well, there's
turning up late.
microaggressions, aren't there? People,
Yeah,
subtly bullying or racist or sexist. I do quite a lot in my current day job around changing workplace culture so it's inclusive. But then you sort of open up a whole can of worms about, what's okay for one person isn't necessarily okay for the other, which is where things like codes of conduct become really important. So at least
absolutely.
everybody knows what they're supposed to be being like so that we can all be individuals within a kind of consistent framework.
Absolutely. But I think a key one for me is turning up late to meetings. I'm not a fan. There's no
Oh,
excuse
don't waste
now.
my time.
Don't
Yeah.
waste my time. It's when people think that their time's more precious than my time that really annoys me because it's
I mean,
not.
late, if you need to be late, be late, but let me know in
Just let
advance
me
so I
know.
can plan. Yeah.
Just like this morning, I messaged you saying I'm going to be a little bit late, but I let you know so
Fine.
you can then use your time wisely. Because again, I've had that with so many clients before where they just don't turn up for 30 minutes or 20 minutes. And I'm like,
Sat
you
there
could,
waiting.
unless you're, dead, you can let me know, right? You can
Yeah,
just let me
right.
know, and it's fine. I don't mind if you're someone working for me or I'm working for you or anything. We're all human beings. All our time is just as precious as everybody else's. So just let me know, and I will be absolutely fine with it.
Yeah, totally.
You know.
Totally. It's funny, isn't it? I used to work with somebody who just annoyed me. They weren't necessarily doing anything wrong. I didn't
Bless.
recruit them. They sat next to me. We had to work together. Everything about them annoyed me.
That's just
And that's
clashes
not
of
their fault.
personality.
And I had to really work on not being annoyed by them because it's just essentially me being intolerant because there was something about their vibe and my vibe that didn't
Just
match.
didn't match. Yeah.
you know.
Well,
I
that's where
hate it.
professional comes in, isn't it? Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
professional comes in because you're not going to get on with everybody, but you certainly, the old phrase of you don't have to like me, but you will respect me.
Although there was one thing that he used to, when people don't dry their clothes properly,
Oh,
they
that
get that
smell,
kind of
that
dank smell.
smell.
And sometimes he'd come in and he'd smell like that, and I'd just be like, I literally can't do
No,
this.
I've had that before. I've had that before.
Yeah.
Hygiene came up on the list, actually, bad hygiene as well.
People bad hygiene.
Um,
Yeah.
and I just think that has to be taken quite seriously, I think, in the workplace.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like a health and safety issue, I guess. But
It
also,
is.
I mean, like, if you're somebody's line manager and they've got bad hygiene, there are maybe some questions to ask about, are they okay? You
Exactly.
know, are they doing too much? Why are they letting their self-care slip? They're
Because that's a mental
stressed
health
about their
thing.
well-being, that sort
Mm,
of thing. Yeah, it's really important that. It's really
absolutely.
important. I mean, there are some annoying things that are specific to working from home, I think, as well, like being in meetings and people not having their cameras on. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm,
It,
oh, and
mm.
I'm quoting a comedian here. This made me laugh so much. She said, "Do you know what I hate about Zoom? Do you know what I really hate about Zoom? My face."
Do you know what?
And I'm like,
I'm one of those people that took a long time to do the video calling. Um, I get it. I absolutely do. When I'm like, engaging with a new client, new person, get to know them. But then every single time, especially when you get to know them really well and you're doing quick check-ins every single day, I don't think that necessarily needs
phone
to be a
calls are
need
fine. Phone calls
because,
used to be
yeah,
fine, didn't they?
exactly. That's what I mean. I
Yeah.
think you can get over the top with that a bit, and it's like, it's different on video call. I always say this: a video call is not the same as in person because when you're in person, you're not got someone's face right there.
And you're not looking at yourself either.
No, and I
I
I
actually
do
moved my
worry.
window off the screen so that I can't see me.
You can't see yourself, but I worry
Yeah.
about eye rolling. I show a lot with my face, and I'm like, I have to remember that I'm on camera because I it took me so long to want to be happy about doing it, or sorry, to be happy about doing it.
Yeah.
And it is different for men and women, like jumping in the shower and jumping out the shower. It is completely different. But I do also think that it's best to get ready as if you're going to work because there's pros and cons to home working, right? Absolutely pros and cons.
Definitely pros and cons in ways of working as well as
Mental health.
relationship building. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite well versed with managing people who don't work in the office because I've worked for health charities and they've had reasonable
Mm.
adjustments or needs accommodation needs you might say in America around their health and their disability. And it's I used to ring one of my members of staff at 10 o'clock every day, not for any particular reason. I just used to be like, idle chat time. How you doing?
Yeah, I think that's
We'd
really
either have like a half an hour call or we'd have a 2 minute call. But it was like that, like um, simulating what it would be like if they were sat next to me in the office and we were both distracted and had a chat for a little bit of a time. But it gets annoying when you're working from home and there are other people in the office, and because you're not there, you miss out. And I
yeah,
think
that shouldn't be allowed. Yeah.
there's something about proactivity around how you include people just because you're not all in the physical space anymore. And that can get really annoying. Like, why didn't I know that? I would have done a completely different thing with this task if I'd known that that had been the conversation.
Well, it's being excluded, isn't it?
Yeah,
Essentially, and it's
totally.
you have to be aware of that. And there's also like homework. And so a little bit about me, which but the listeners probably don't, is that when I first got into project management, it was around sustainability and trying to make people more sustainable with their travel options because it's so congested in London, for example. So we used to promote home working a lot, which was alien to different generations
Yeah.
because it was like, I can't see you, so therefore you're not
Yeah, the
doing
micromanager,
the
control freaking
micromanager.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's for me, I mean, it's been my whole career in terms of my business career, and my music career is, quite remote unless you're doing gigs on site anyway. So it's normal
Musicians
to
work
me.
on their own a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But for
Yeah.
me, I actually don't care when I've pulled in a team under my company. I really, really do not care whether you're doing it on a beach in Hawaii or you're doing whatever it's. For me, you have to think outputs. But if you agree, like we do daily check-ins with agile project management, so we'll do daily, they're called stand-ups, and there'll be 15 minutes, and for me that's really good because it's quick. It's meant to be, okay, what's the problem, what are you working on, what have you achieved, what are there any roadblockers that I can go away and fix, and you have those quick, hi, how you doing, brilliant, but you get into it. And it has to be 15 minutes. Otherwise, you schedule another meeting dedicated to something. And I think that's really good. And then if someone's got to go and take their kid to the dentist, why should that be a problem?
Yeah, because you've got to live your life.
You have.
If you're on top of your life, then you're going to do a better job at work. It's the no-brainer for me.
Yeah, same. And, it's hours, the whole concept of hours in the workplace, 9 to 5, and it's got short as well, 30-minute lunch breaks, or they used to be 9 to 5 with your hour lunch, and then it's now 8:30 to 6 or 5:30 straight through, and that's just not, it's not healthy, and you're not going to be productive in that way,
or necessarily doing a good job if you are productive
and not happy.
If I rush, I make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone has different styles, and I really try as a project manager or program manager of teams, you have to, you do have to really, it's a skill, and I'm still learning, but you have to think about that everybody's different, and that the way that I may manage one person's different from another person.
Yeah, but that would be treating them equally by treating them differently. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. We're gonna quote that somewhere, because I think that's fantastic what you just said there. That is the equality, because treating everybody the same is never going to work in life.
No, you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
No, stop with all these great quotes, Phoebe.
I mean, EDI sector, it's true. But the talking about inclusion, annoyances, fine line between annoyance and being disrespected, or that's a bit annoying because I'm intolerant, versus that's a microaggression toward me, or that's you not managing your emotion or regulating your behavior in a way that means you're impacting other people. And one of the things that really annoys me, and I can be guilty of it myself, but I really try to manage it, and that's interrupting.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that one. I know it's hard though. We all do it. I've been a little bit less annoyed by that over the years, because I do it, but I'm conscious of it myself. And video calling when there's lots of you, it's not hard. It's hard to do that sometimes, especially if there's delays, or that's where a camera is more useful than just a phone call.
Yeah, cues.
But I think that we all have to be a little bit more tolerant of that, unless I did actually have someone in my team on a project in the last couple of years that, it was insane. Clients were saying we never get a word in, and I actually had to just talk kindly to that person. I say, look, I do it too, but it's excessive.
There's a difference, isn't there, between let me stop you there and clarify, or interrupting because the ideas are flowing, and somebody that incessantly interrupts. And there's a lot of research actually around how men are more likely to interrupt women than they are other men. And I've been in situations where I'm being interrupted, he's interrupting me again. It's not a case of he's just not listening. And sometimes it's a power play, isn't it? Or, the meeting's not been organised very well, so everybody's in a rush, and everybody's got to say, everyone's being a bit competitive. So there can be different reasons for why people are interrupting.
Absolutely.
But generally, if somebody only does that, and that is their modus operandi, and I can think of 4 or 5 people I currently work with that there's not a sentence they ever wait for the finish of. It's just about emotional regulation. If you can't hold that thought in your head, write it down and wait your turn.
Yeah,
and I think there is definitely skills in facilitating meetings, whether you're the boss or not. Call out, interrupt.
That's the whole point of a chair as well, right? But I also think, there's two sides, playing devil's advocate here. There's two sides as well of making sure there's space for other people as well. So from your point of view, so you're not interrupting, making sure there's space. And then as the other person, being aware of just saying, okay, hold that thought. But then if that person goes into a completely another topic, and then your point is not relevant anymore, they haven't given you enough space.
Yeah, totally. And also, if somebody's always interrupting, then the people that are less likely to speak are even more less likely to speak.
They
So,
are.
you know, you
Yes.
have, everyone has to take a role in bringing out other people's voices, um, as a way of respect and including, and you might argue getting all opinions heard. Like you're making decisions as a team and half of the room haven't spoken. How do you know that the
Yeah.
plan that you're coming up with is actually going to be workable? Because it hasn't had
You're
everybody's
just
input.
talking to them and telling them your plan in that case, aren't you?
Transmitting rather than connecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, I did bullet one down, which actually came from me. That was people forgetting conversations you've had and like making you
Yeah.
think you're mad. I've had that a lot.
Make some notes.
Yeah, I'm like, but we talked about this last Wednesday. We actually went through this, and like it didn't happen. I'm like, am I losing my mind? Like I've actually wondered sometimes because my memory is so I'm very attention to detail oriented. That's probably why I'm a project manager, and I
Yeah,
really
and what
do.
that's what you remember, the
Yeah, but
detail.
I'm like, we have a whole full blown. I sometimes worry about people I've worked with.
Yeah. Were you drunk in that meeting?
Yeah,
If it's important, if there's been, if it's a meeting I've led and it's important that people remember, I always follow up with notes. But
I
I
do
don't
now. I
trust
didn't used
people
to
to
always.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I do.
don't trust them. And you know, you'll notice it as well. The people that take a lot of notes, the people that take no notes, and
That's the problem, isn't it? I used to
I
do.
have to take notes because I've got a bad memory. But there are people that don't genuinely need to take notes. But I think, you know, everyone should have some form of record for themselves
I
about what
agree.
we've agreed.
I agree. I'll tell you what, AI. So I've used AI at the end of to record meetings, you know, and I've asked people.
Mm.
That's what's been good about that because then it gives you a summary, and also I can ask it questions to say like, what are the main four themes that have come out of this conversation?
No.
That's worked really well on projects for me. So that's why I think AI is really good. And we're going to have an episode about that at some point because we've got that on the list. But just a little segue there that's really useful. And I think that, I didn't ever want to become a minute meeting
Miniature,
taker.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it is quite essential to recap on that, especially when there's a number of people in the room, you
Well,
know.
there's writing down everything that was said, and then there's just tracking actions, isn't there?
That would exactly, but I think you just made a point about taking notes. I remember when I used to be on the conference circuit and I'd sit in rooms and make loads of notes about what they were talking about. I'd never look at those notes again, and I realised I hadn't actually listened.
Because you were taking the notes.
It's like going to a concert and videoing the whole concert and looking through your phone.
Well, here you're talking about presence, aren't you? And presence has a massive role to play in memory, which is potentially something we should look at in another episode. You know, the role of presence in our
Yeah,
lives and how we remember and how we connect and how we come up with ideas, how we communicate, get on with, manage our relationships. Presence is a huge one.
I
Um,
agree.
but yeah, outside of annoying cookie sales and contributing to the boss's birthday, and I don't even like the boss. Um, tell us your thoughts, listeners. What are the annoying things that have happened to you in the workplace, whether it be the office, behind the bar, behind the counter, on the
Yes.
streets, wherever? Let us know what gets you goat about working with other people.
Yeah, your bugbears or your pet peeves. Let us know, listeners, and we look forward to reading them. See you next week.
See you next week.